Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to our webinar today. My name is Betsy Bland, and I work at Workday in our product strategy organization. Very excited to be joined today by Brian Schmidt. Brian is the finance lead at Deloitte Consulting, working specifically with health plans, with organizations like yourself. I'm also pleased to be joined today by my colleague, Jeff Rose. Jeff is a manager in our financial management sales consulting organization.
So welcome, Brian and Jeff. Our agenda today, we have an exciting agenda. Brian is going to leverage his many years of experience working with clients in the health plan space to take us through some of the challenges that health plans are facing today. With a lot of the change going on, and what are those challenges specifically for finance organizations in the area of financial management and accounting. I'll then talk a little bit about Workday, provide you with a brief high-level introduction to Workday as a company, who we are, and what we do. And I'll fairly quickly turn it over to Jeff. Jeff is going to lift the hood and give us a demo and show us Workday in action. So with that, I am happy to turn it over to you, Brian.
Thanks, Betsy. Let me first qualify Deloitte a little bit as a firm serving the health plan industry. You can read what's on the screen, but we are an integrated professional services firm that helps with strategy, operations, technology, human capital, actuarial services, and advisory capabilities. We serve over 80% of the largest managed care organizations and 70% of our nation's Blue Cross Blue Shield plans, with a group of over 10,000 professionals focused and dedicated to the health science and government practice. We're also very experienced with Workday as an alliance partner, helping serve more than 140 implementations to date, with over 500 certified consultants working on the largest, most complex implementations of Workday to date. So with that introduction, let me go right into some of the issues that health plan finance organizations are facing today. Right now, there's an unprecedented barrage of challenges to the health plan organizations, particularly in financial management. Growth, new markets, regulatory and affordability challenges are increasingly demanding finance input on business decision support that affects the whole overall corporation. And these challenges are adding complexity to what financial management capabilities exist today, at the same time trying to do that in that uncertain environment. So what health plans today are looking for are those opportunities to develop capabilities to become more analytic and more insightful and being a better business partner to the rest of the organization rather than just being the bookkeeper and accountant of record. So what are some of those challenges and imperatives that they're facing? You can see here that right now a big issue is reporting that is being done today doesn't really necessarily deliver the insights that are needed to support the market or the business decisions. It's gone from a very high level, and there's a greater need to have a better level of granularity and drill down capabilities to find the insights that make those opportunities available to have a differentiated market presence in pricing and success in the marketplace. A lot of health plans are still using and dealing with outdated technology platforms that aren't flexible, that don't give the ability to easily find and develop those insights. And oftentimes, because they are lacking in that singular platform, there's no single source, no one place to do all of the analytics and create the insights. And what they're also finding is that what they do have is actually very expensive to maintain and own. So the imperatives that we're starting to see in the marketplace are for health plans that are looking for that business platform that provides them more user-directed, real-time reporting and analytic capabilities, includes automated workflow to the extent possible, and provides greater transparency and drill-down capabilities real-time instead of having to request extracts, wait overnight for that extract to be pulled, and then finally look at the information. It's meant to shift those resources from maintaining a general ledger into really being a value-added reporting and analytics capability, and operating and optimizing the operating model within finance. The key takeaway here is that there are actually studies that draw a distinct, direct, positive correlation between the efficiency and effectiveness of an insurance company's finance functions and the company's profitability. So the alternative is true as well. When you're dealing with an inefficient, ineffective finance function, you're actually having a direct detriment to your profitability as an organization. So what do we see for the future? The trends aren't likely to be changing anytime soon. You're still dealing with a lot of growth challenges, a lot of mergers, acquisitions, affiliations into non-health plan businesses that diversify your business model that need to be understood. And the finance implication is to be able to track all of that, different KPIs and financial information and planning and reporting drivers need to be identified and managed. The market conditions around administrative cost pressures, shift to retail and orientation towards what the market needs for reporting and analytics and pricing in that respect is also going to continue to progress. And of course, as you know, the regulatory challenges are going to continue. They're still changing on a daily basis. So what are some of those demands for the different views that a health plan finance organization is looking for? You've got your traditional matrix that you're trying to support, but a lot of health plans have seen a lot of changes within this matrix. Being able to segment and review customers as one dimension. Another dimension might be the channels in which those customers and segments are served, and the lines of business across those customers and segments. Those are all pretty traditional, but on top of that, health plans also look at a series of other dimensions that you can see in the right-hand box there. Funding type is obviously important. Member and group level, as there's more orientation towards the retail market or shop if you're in the exchanges. Corporate entity, geographic and rating area slices and dices of the financial information becomes important as well as the basis of accounting. So all of these different components of the matrix affect the ability of the finance organization to be responsive. So we'll move on to another slide here, just as a quick example. If we're looking at the different dimensions needed for just 3 different types of reports, what this table is really highlighting is if you were looking at your audited, consolidated financials, you've got one basis of accounting. That's actually different if you're trying to do your federal MLR reporting or some QHP pricing analyses. You have different dimensions within there that you'd look at, whether it's the basis of accounting, the line of business slicing and dicing that you'd want to be able to do, customer segmentation, geography could be different, et cetera, et cetera. And so each of these reports and each of these dimensions at a lot of health plans requires a different set of data pools that don't even necessarily come from the general ledger and then are called into question. How does this tie to our financials? Is this data accurate or not? I'm going to move on and talk about, what does this really mean? What we're looking for the finance organizations, what we're hearing from finance organizations is they're looking for that business platform that helps provide some of those answers. There is no silver bullet here, but there are tools that can make a lot of this easier, and you'll hear from Workday about what their tool can do. But it addresses some of those user-directed real-time reporting and analytic capabilities, the process automation and workflow, et cetera. The assessment, then, what we have a lot of clients asking is, how do we go about doing this? How do I understand what my imperatives really are? You ask yourself these questions. Do you actually get the reporting and flexibility for reporting and analytics and insightful reports today from your systems? Is your team effectively supporting the rest of the corporation and the business partnering and able to tie what they're sharing with the rest of the organization back to the general ledger? Are you spending the right balance of time between the analytics and putting the data together? And are you prepared for additional flexible requirements into the future? Or are you up against the wall right now with just even trying to deal with what you have to put together for financials and analytics today? And finally, are you getting what you paid for? So it's a very expensive proposition to be maintaining these systems, but what I'm going to do now is turn this back over to Betsy Bland and let her explain a little bit more about what Workday can do to help in some of these areas. Betsy, back to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. Great insight into some of the challenge that health plans are facing. I'm now going to turn and talk a little bit about Workday, just so people have the context about who Workday is and what we do before we dive into the demo and show you the product in the flesh. But first, just a little bit about Workday. So we're an enterprise software company. We've been around for about 9 years now. And going back to when we were founded by two gentlemen, Dave Duffield and Anil Bushri. And if you're at all familiar with PeopleSoft, you'll know those names, I'm sure, very well. Dave was the founder of PeopleSoft, and Anil was a high-level senior executive there running corporate and product strategy. And post-PeopleSoft, Dave and Anil got together, and they were really taking a look across the enterprise software landscape and looking at what was happening, what changes were occurring, what new technologies were emerging. And they really saw an opportunity to rethink and reimagine financial management and human capital management software. And one of the things they were looking at or watching was what Salesforce was doing with customer relationship management software. So they looked at Salesforce and looked at how they were really redefining the delivery model for CRM by really bringing CRM out to customers via the cloud. And so they saw the value that was delivering to customers and saw the opportunity to do that with financial management and human capital management as well. Fast forward to today, Workday is a global public company. We have nearly 3,000 employees and over 675 customers today, which represent a wide range of industries, including insurance and health plans. One of the things that happened 9 years ago is that we had the good fortune to really take a new look and start from scratch in building out our solution. So starting from scratch, building from the ground up, taking advantage of new technology, new paradigms to really just build better applications for our customers. And what that means broken down is it's really a new level thinking across three main areas. And the first one I've already talked about. It's the cloud delivery model. And Workday is 100% committed to the cloud as a delivery model. We believe that it is the best way to deliver enterprise software to our customers. And the way that we're architected, the way that we develop and deliver our applications, the way that we interact with our customers throughout the entire customer life cycle, and that's through the sales process, through the deployment process, through the post-deployment process, as customers are evolving their instance of Workday to meet their specific needs. We are very much entwined with our customers, and I think that the cloud delivery model really provides that new level of intimacy, that new level of partnership, that new level of commitment between customer and vendor, which I think is actually a pretty neat thing. The other thing we looked at was technology. So if you think back 15 to 20 years where some of the incumbent systems were designed and architected and developed, technology has changed quite a bit. It's really evolved. I mean, everything from the concept of a service-oriented architecture and web services so that applications can talk to one another, to concepts like object orientation and in-memory data processing, and making sure that all applications are natively accessible through mobile devices is really an important thing for us. And so what Workday did was really take advantage of this modern technology to build what we believe is a more modern and a more valuable application. So I'll give you an example that will help tee up some of the things I think that Jeff is going to show. But Workday from day one was designed with an in-memory data processing. And so what that means is that all transactional data, all transaction processing, and reporting and analytics occurs in a single unified system. So when you're doing reporting and analytics, you're doing it off of real-time transactional data. As you're aggregating and you're summarizing in support of your reporting, you're doing that off of real-time transactional data. So that's really a new paradigm versus the old world where you may have had to go out to an operational data store or enterprise data warehouse. With Workday, you're doing that innately within the system. And then the final thing we really look at, we look at that on an ongoing basis, is as we're building out new functionality, rolling out new functionality, broadening our solution footprint, we're always thinking about how we can learn from the past and do things in a better way. So this real briefly is our solution. This is Workday's solution footprint. I think the first thing that I want to mention about this is that we are one unified solution. So you see a lot of icons on this page that represent the different functional areas for Workday, but there's no concept of products, there's no concept of modules in Workday. We're one single unified solution. So in that way, business processes data can flow seamlessly across functional boundaries. And I think unifying human capital management with financial management is so critical for a people or a talent-centric organization, which is what health plans really are, right? 50 to 60% of your costs are attributable to your people, and so you want that unification across HR and financial management. So just to drill into that a bit, on the HCM side, we have core HR, support for core HR, payroll, time tracking, fully unified with a suite of talent management capabilities, so everything from recruiting to onboarding to performance management, compensation management, succession planning, career development and management, all exist within the Workday world. On the financial management side, covering everything from core accounting to asset management, we enable our customers to manage both financial assets and business assets, like computers or mobile devices. We also cover the wide range of contract to cash and revenue management, the entire range of procure to pay, so procurement to accounts payable, employee expense management, and then of course, as I mentioned before, reporting and analytics is a embedded part of our system, so support for financial reporting, operational reporting, and management reporting, which Jeff will show. So that's really the broad view of our footprint. Everything's built on a common adaptive foundation. And the last thing I'll mention is just that we have a huge focus and investment in the user experience as well. So one of the ways that I think Workday is a bit different is that we really are observing and taking a lot of the cues and paradigms that are occurring out there around the consumer space, around mobile app development, and really trying to apply those to the enterprise software world. So how the user interacts with the system, how they perform transactions, how they access data and reports and analytics, it's really important for us that they do that in a secure and governed way, but also in an easy way, either through their desktop or through a mobile device. So really a big part of the Workday way. So with that, I am happy to turn that over to Jeff, and he's going to show you Workday in action.
Great. Thanks, Betsy. In the demonstration, I'm going to let me just get my slide presentation going here. In the demonstration, I'm going to show how the Workday solution is designed to deliver the capabilities that health plans need, as Brian just described. To do that, Workday's used a very innovative approach that's fundamentally different from the legacy financial management solutions. Just a little more detail and expansion on what Betsy was just describing. The main challenge with those systems is that they're based on 3 separate platforms. One for their transaction processing and accounting, one for their analytics and reporting, and another separate one for governance, risk, and compliance. This architecture is just very expensive to implement and maintain, very difficult to change, and very hard to deliver real-time financial results to your business users. Right? The Workday solution that Betsy just described is that single platform. It really unifies and brings together people, processes, and data. The result's a solution that's simpler, faster, and smarter. Simpler in that it is very, very easy to use and deploy for all types of users. Faster in that it's much easier to make those changes driven by the market, the business, the growth, and the regulatory changes that health plans are undergoing. And smarter with those real-time analytics and reporting that Betsy was describing. Let's take a look at what we're talking about. So I'm going to go over here to a browser where I've logged in as Teresa Serrano. She's the CFO for our demonstration company. And this is her default homepage that she sees when she logs into the system. And you can see here it's laid out in a very easy-to-use manner, like applications on your smartphone. It's a very modern, consumer-based user experience. So, for example, your employees can very easily and with very little training go in and use the system to submit their expense reports, request goods and services. And because it's a single solution, unified for financials and human capital management, access their benefits information, for example. In the same way, managers can very easily access real-time financial results. Monitor right from their desktop their budget and their variances. But also, again, as part of that unified solution, manage their team, their talent, their compensation associated with it. So those 2 key aspects for a manager around managing financial results and managing their people, all in one very easy to use, easy to access user experience. Now, Workday is also completely event-based, process-driven solution. So in that, we've got an inbox. This is where all the tasks, approvals, alerts, and notifications come. The individual user can access through their browser, have automatic email notifications, or access and work this inbox through their favorite mobile device. It's also, as a modern object-based system that Betsy was describing, it's very easy to navigate and find information. Just going up to the search bar is just like Google. If I want to find information about a particular supplier, I can click on that supplier. Let's say it's Corporate Express. Just hit enter. And not only does it bring back that supplier, but all of the other related objects, in this case, purchase order and payment transactions related to that object, to that thing I'm looking for. And can just simply click down through and access that supplier information. Now, besides being an employee and manager, Teresa also has that finance-specific role as that CFO. And as a result, she's got access to a variety of dashboards with reports and analytics on it. Now, I'm going to go into just select one of those as an example. And the key here is that this is all configured and maintained by Teresa's finance team. There's no IT resources required. Her own finance users can configure the dashboards, define the reports, and control the access. Teresa herself can also personalize this dashboard and select, based on the reports available to her, what she wants to see when she accesses the particular dashboard. Right. Let's go in and show an example of what we talk about when we talk about those built-in business intelligence and actionable reporting. Over here we can see we've got a membership report, so we're importing information around statistics, an analysis around spend, visibility into contribution margin over a number of years, also visibility into, as that unified solution, HR information, such as the global headcount and open positions, as well as visibility in the underlying processes as well. But let's zero in on this contribution margin. So we can see Teresa zeroes in and sees in Q1 that she's actually had quite a good increase of Q1 in 2014 over 2013. and she wants to understand more about the who, what, where, when, and how that's happening. So all she needs to do is simply click beside a number. Wherever you see a number in Workday, it's in blue, your cursor changes shape, you can click beside it and take action on that number or drill down and analyze it. And as I scroll through here, what you'll see is a number of different dimensions. As an illustration how Workday has that ability to handle all those different dimensions required for the reporting and analysis that Brian had described. The difference here, this looks a lot more like what you'd see out of a business intelligence tool. The difference with Workday is that we don't require those separate data marts, data warehouses, or business intelligence tools. It's all just part of the embedded actual analytics we get. So let's see an example of that. I'm going to drill down and look at that information by line of business. We can see with one click very easily get that. I can get a little cross-tab report to be able to analyze that by year. Simply refresh my analysis. Now I've got some data there that's nice and good to analyze, but we can also, wherever we have data sitting in a grid, I can simply click on that and get a graphical view of that information. So very quickly and easily, Teresa can say that a lot of that growth was driven by her line of business in the large group dental. So maybe she wants to understand a little bit more about what's driving that particular growth. Again, she can drill down and pick right even off the graph and be able to analyze that information, for example, by customer, and then by customer by product, and be able to refresh that and get that visibility. As we talked about with Workday being an object-based system, if she wants to know more about this particular customer, she can go over here, see this particular icon or ellipse, looks like a Lego block. She can simply click beside it. And based on her security, who she is, what she's looking at, what she has access to, she can get information about that and take action on it. So here she's got visibility into a snapshot or a baseball card of information about that customer, as well as particular additional actions and reports she can get just with a couple of clicks. Then the next view I'm going to take, I'm going to change this, and rather looking at this by product, I'm going to be looking at this by ledger account type. This just shows how we're getting that contribution margin, how we're pulling into this report both revenue and expense by customer. Now, in a traditional system, you can get your customer revenue out of billing or accounts receivable, but to get the contribution margin, you would have to have customer as a code or a dimension on both your revenue and expense amounts. In order to get that in a traditional system, again, you'd have to extract that out to a reporting platform because it wouldn't be part of your chart of accounts. You're not going to capture, have customers part of that chart of accounts. It's just not so with Workday. As a proof point, I can drill down in this underlying amount, and we can see we've got those underlying accounting entries for both the revenue and expense. Let me just drill down to that underlying accounting entry. Right. So this is what that report is built off. We can see that we've got in the accounting entry, we've got our accounts receivable, taxes payable, and our revenue amounts. And so really, how are we able to do this within Workday? Well, it's this concept called work tags. Right? As we contrast that with traditional systems, there's always been this data available in operational systems. There's never just been a place in your legacy general ledger for it. Well, Workday's really changed that paradigm to allow you to bring in a lot more operational system, a lot more granularity to support that. And how do we do it? Well, it's through this concept called work tags. So I'm just going to slip back to my slideshow here and just talk a bit about that. So with those traditional systems, you have a very rigid, structured chart of accounts. You can't easily adapt it. You can't have a lot of different segments in it. For example, you're not going to carry, customer level of detail in it. And it represents journal entries that are summary entries coming from all of those, legacy system modules that Betsy was describing. Well, Workday, starting with a clean sheet of paper using modern object-based technology, really took an entirely different approach. So rather than that accounting-centric transaction-based approach, we've built it off business events. that really allow you to capture any of those dimensions that you might need to support not just your GAAP-based accounting, but your operational and management reporting as well. Good. So as we go back to the demonstration in Teresa's desktop, the real value there is to be able to support your financial reporting and your management and operational reporting and analytics off these business events for that single source of the truth. Let's see an example of that from a financial reporting point of view. I'm going to go back to Teresa's homepage and click on her favorites here where she can access different tasks and reports and objects, and she's going to bring up a financial statement. So there's a bunch of different attributes I can pick here to bring in to give Teresa that capability to access various formats of financial statements. But we can also she can save those, all of those choices she's made previously, and be able to bring that up as a favorite or a filter. So in this case, she's going to bring up her income statement per member month. So this is just showing how we can combine that financial data along with statistical data such as member month to be able to provide that that kind of income statement that would be common for health plans. So that ability to be able to go in, oh, sorry about that, to be able to go in and look at the revenue, the contribution margin, the administrative expenses, to be able to scroll down and see those metrics by member month, to be able to bring in ratios, etc. And again, because these amounts are blue, that ability to go through and analyze any of these amounts by all those same dimensions that we saw in those analytics when we first started the demonstration. The other key advantage of Workday and this concept of work tags is to really be able to support that profitability by those multiple different dimensions that Brian was talking about. So for example, I could simply click here and rerun this financial statement, but rather than looking at it by company, I can go and choose to look at it by some different dimension or work tag. So it could be by customer, by product, by department. In this case, let's grab it and look at it by line of business. So now as I go through and rerun that financial statement, just as that's running, I'm going to zoom in and show you a couple of options here. You'll notice there's options to be able to include final or pro forma allocations. So this concept of work tags extends to Workday's allocation capabilities to allow you right within your financial system to be able to perform those allocations you require and then support that kind of profitability analysis, again, by those multiple different dimensions. So as I bring this up, now we'll see we've taken that exact same financial statement, but now we're viewing it by those different lines of business with that same information of the income statement, the same metrics, the same calculations to be able to give that information by member month. Now we've talked about those concepts of how Workday is simpler and smarter. So how is Workday faster? The key is how easily it is to adapt your system using Workday in an environment where, as Brian said, uncertainty reigns. Well, let's take a particular scenario. Let's say you need to manage and track revenue, expenses, and profit by a dimension you don't currently have in your chart of accounts, not currently anywhere in your financial management system. Let's say it's by channel. Let's go and see how you would do that within Workday. I'm going to go over here and open up another browser and log in as an administrator, Logan McNeil. And she's going to go in and actually make those fundamental changes to the systems. So basically she needs to add a new work tag. So she's going to go up to her search bar here and access that and be able to go in and add a new work tag. So here's a list, and in addition to all those 4 or 5 dozen delivered work tags and objects that Workday has, the ability for customers to be able to add their own. You can simply click here to enable a new work tag, relabel that as channel, and then tell the system where they want to use it. Again, part of the power of that single system for both financial management and human capital management is to be able to use this dimension or work tag for financial, for human resources, for payroll, even through Workday time tracking. So just setting up that once and sharing it across the entire solution and all those different functional areas and domains. So I'm going to click OK. And just to pause here, what I've in fact done is added an entire new segment to the chart of accounts. That's now available throughout all of the system to be able to code to transactions and do that kind of reporting and analysis that we showed earlier. So just as that proof statement, let's go through and follow that through and see how that works within Workday. So I'm going to go through and add in some values, for that new dimension now. We're going to go through and add it to the channel. Let's add that, and we'll just add a couple of values here, just in the interest of time. We'll call one direct sales, and we'll call the other the exchange. Okay. Click OK. So again, just a few clicks here as an administrator, I've added a new segment and created some values. Now let's see how that's immediately available throughout the system to be able to transact and use those new values to be able to code to transactions. So I'm going to log out of here as Logan. I'm going to log back in as an employee, Jennifer Carter. So as I do that, I've logged in as Jennifer. You'll see she's got a much simpler user interface because the only role she has is as an employee. So in here, she can simply click here to create that expense report. Right here, it's defaulted in a bunch of information or work tags based on her worker record that's set up and maintained in Workday Human Capital Management. So in addition to that, she wants to default in the fact that all this expense reports were expense items on this expense report relate to a particular channel. So how would she go through and add that? It's just to go through and pick her menu, or she could type the information directly in. But there we see in that channel that all of these expenses relate to that direct sales channel. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. Now that work tag is going to automatically default in to every single expense report line. Now just very quickly, we'll just do a very simple one. Let's say she had a taxi expense and it was for $110. And we'll see here that, again, those work tags have defaulted down to each individual expense line, and we've got that new work tag for direct sales sitting there. She's going to go ahead and just submit this now. Now, just in the interest of time, the purpose of this demonstration, we added a conditional rule that said if the expense report didn't exceed $200, it didn't need any approval. So what it's doing now is just going through, checking the system, checking all the approval rules to see if it needs any additional approvals. And in this case, it does not. It's successfully completed. That means within Workday, it's automatically generated all the accounting entries and immediately available for all of the analytics, financial statements, trial balances, reports throughout the system without having to run any processes on a real-time basis. Let's just go in and see the result of that. If we go back now as Teresa, remember that financial statement we were just looking at. Let's go ahead and just rerun that. I'm not going to make any changes to my choices. I'm just rerunning that same financial statement. I'm going to click OK. Now I've done that. I've got that financial statement, and Jennifer was part of this that line of business, the large group dental. So as we go down to analyze that sales and marketing expense, let's take a look at it like a traditional view an accountant might want to look at. Let's break that down by account. Right? So we're drilling that down. We can see what makes up that particular expense report line. It's marketing and travel and entertainment. Let's analyze that travel and entertainment now. Let's look at that by employee. Again, not a dimension you're going to carry in the chart of accounts, but available through this concept called work tags in Workday with just a simple click. And if I wanted to see that, those T&E expenses by employee, by channel, you can go ahead and do that, and there's that amount showing up. So the key concepts that we've shown here very quickly and easily is that ability to for a transaction to show up real time without any processing, and that new dimension or work tag that I just set up a couple of minutes ago is not only available for transacting, but is immediately available throughout the system as a dimension for reporting and analysis. So let's just take a pause here and just think about what that would take with your current financial systems or legacy financial systems. The work that would be involved to customize that system to be able to add that new chart of accounts segment, to make it available, to add in the new values, to make it available throughout the system, and then to make it available through all the reports and analytics as a dimension for drill down and analyzing. Right? Workday just really makes it, order of magnitude faster and cheaper to manage, and again, not using expensive and scarce IT resources, but changes that your finance team can manage. So just in summary, what we've shown here is how Workday has a fundamentally different solution to address the financial management needs as health plans, as described earlier by Brian. It's a simpler solution, that consumer-based user experience, accessible by browser or through your mobile device, to empower all types of business users, including your finance department. Smarter in that you've got actionable analytics to provide real-time, multi-dimensional reporting without a separate platform. And it's faster. It's a configurable system that gives you that agility to respond to changes required by your growth, your market, or regulatory changes that you're experiencing. Now I'm going to hand it over to Betsy for Q&A.
All right, terrific. Thank you, Jeff, for that fantastic demo. So I want to encourage people. We're going to take some questions, and happy to do so. So if you have questions top of mind, please submit those through the Q&A online, and I will read them out and we'll answer them. So I see one here. Someone's asking about the term legacy systems, mentioning that we say that a lot, and wondering what we mean by that. So maybe I'll take a quick stab, and Jeff, if you want to add color commentary. Legacy systems, when we're referring to those, I think at a very high, simple level, refers to the prior generation of enterprise software. So systems that were architected, developed 15 to 20 years ago, on-premise systems, right, not taking advantage of the cloud delivery model. From a technology perspective, not taking advantage of newer technologies like object orientation, in-memory data processing, these concepts of, mobile at the core, right, of how your users access that system, native to your design, reporting and analytics embedded and unified with your transactions. I don't know, Jeff, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think that's a good explanation. The only other thing I would add to that is it's basically we're talking about those, the systems that the majority of those systems that people are using today, those client-server-based or mainframe-based financial management systems whose core is 20 to 30 years old.
Great. Another question coming in, maybe this is for you, Jeff. Someone's asking about how the data is stored, wondering if you can actually add tables to the database, or if it's a proprietary database.
Okay, so all of the information, the data is stored in memory, and that's what provides that configurability to be able to make those changes, also to provide that real-time visibility and reporting. And also that ability to report and drill down to that transaction level without having to have those separate reporting tools. So it is a proprietary technology where that all of that in memory. Now underneath it all, there are tables there to persist the data and support the backup and storage. But it is a completely modern in-memory database. The in-memory part of it isn't just reporting, it's the entire solution, and that's what really gives it that value and how it's fundamentally different. As far as being able to add new tables, obviously we don't think in those terms. We think of those terms in terms of custom objects for Workday. And it's a very, very extensible solution. That ability to be able to, you showed me add a new work tag, to be able to configure and change your big business processes, the organizational structures and the hierarchies, to be able to build and define your reports and validation rules. You know, that's how we very, very extensible and configurable solution.
Terrific. Here's another question coming in, and I think this refers back to maybe a comment that Brian made earlier, but can you support different bases of accounting? So, for example, can you support both GAAP and statutory sets of books inside of Workday?
Yes, you can. So one of those objects that we deliver that's available as a work tag is something called a book code. And what it really allows you to do is identify those adjustments or differences between, for example, your GAAP-based versus management reporting versus your regulatory and statutory reporting. And then by either just including or excluding that book code to be able to report on any of those bases. So again, not only getting your accounting and management reporting out of that, you know, single source of the truth, but also those different types of accounting reports and books.
Okay. Here's another one coming in. How do upgrades work? So maybe I'll take a little stab at that, and then if you want to add some information. We don't at Workday really think in terms of upgrades. So that sort of traditional concept of an upgrade where a vendor comes out with new functionality at a point in time. Historically, it's been, you know, every 12 to 18 months, but it's more, you know, more frequent in many cases these days. We actually have a continuous development, or what we refer to as a continuous innovation model. So we are always developing and delivering functionality, and I think it's important to know that we operate off one single line of code. And at any given time, all of our customers are on the latest version of the software. So you won't find any Workday customers on older versions of our software. All 675 plus customers are on the latest version. We like to think that we leave no customer behind. So as we innovate and as we deliver functionality, and we deliver it in a non-disruptive way. So functionality is delivered in a quote-unquote sort of turned-off mode. It's delivered to a preview environment where customers can then go in and view the new functionality. They can test it. They can decide whether or not they want to adopt the new functionality or not. And at that time, they would turn on that new functionality and be able to take advantage of it in their production system. So we refer to those as updates, not upgrades. And again, you know, very, very different model from what people might be used to from legacy systems.
Yeah, an example of that is to support the needs of health plans and the kinds of allocations we do. We talked about a book code, you know, that ability to have your GAAP-based set of books, your regulatory, your management-based. So, and then in health plans and in other industries as well, you need to be able to perform your allocations using that book code in those different sets of books, perhaps using different data, the same allocations and different data. So we added that as an enhancement in Workday, and that was when we moved every single one of those customers up to the new version of Workday, everybody had that capability. They didn't have to go through any sort of an expensive, time-consuming, disruptive, big IT project in order to get that new functionality.
Great. Another one coming in around reporting. So someone's asking if you can write custom reports using SQL or another language, and I think I'll maybe rephrase that for you, Jeff. How do you do custom reporting inside of Workday?
Yeah, so we deliver that ability to design and create those reports right within Workday using that exact same user interface. So all of those reports and analytics, we looked at. Some of those were delivered. Other ones, such as that contribution margin report, were an example of a custom report. and it's something that that analysts can do without IT. Part of the value and the difference with Workday in this object-based model rather than relational-based tables is the fact that you don't have to create any joins. If I want to bring in information from one object into a report, I don't have to go out and ask my IT to create a SQL view in order to join different tables. So it's we do have that ability to create those custom reports. It's all just part of Workday as that embedded, built-in business intelligence reporting and analysis capability. Now, if you want to extract data out of Workday to be able to feed that into some other system or reporting tool or data warehouse that you have, we support those custom reports, and the integration tools we have would support that as well.
Terrific. And here's another one coming in. And so this has to do with, this is really twofold. So how do we handle requests for customizations? I think that's sort of one question in and of itself. And then another question around how we get data in and out of Workday, so our integration capabilities.
Right. So as far as customization, there's a lot of things that require a customization in traditional systems that are just configuration within Workday. We saw an example of that I demonstrated, for example, adding a new Workday, configuring your business processes. If there was a particular enhancement you were looking for in the system, that's something that we use our, one of the ways to do that is through our online customer community, where you can go through and see whether some other customer has asked for that. If not, you can add it. Customers use that to vote on it, and it's something that our product management team monitors on a regular basis and drives a significant part of our development process and enhancements that come out in those regular updates and are available to all of the customers. And the second part of that question was
around integration,
around
how you get data in and out.
That's right. So we deliver, being a cloud-based solution, obviously we need to work well with others, whether they're other cloud-based solutions or on-premise solutions or anything else. So part of what we deliver as part of the solution is a very, very robust integration framework that really that consists of, I guess, three basic pieces. One is something that, again, financial analysts, not necessarily IT people, can use to do very simple imports and outputs of data. To be able to import data, for example, a spreadsheet of values for supplier invoices or journal entries, or updating some values, or to be able to export that data as I already described. There's also the Workday Studio for more complex integrations. So, for example, integrations with your benefit systems to bring in that revenue and expense data and map it to the Workday work tags and be able to import that information is a tool that we deliver to allow your IT people to be able to build those and then deploy them in the cloud. The third part is that we use that tool ourselves to be able to provide and deliver integrations. So examples of that on the financial side are integrations with corporate credit card providers to be able to bring in credit card transactions for employees to complete their expense reports, or to be able to support various payment formats or import bank statements for automated bank reconciliation.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Another one I'm seeing, okay, I'm being told time for one more question. And I see someone coming in with a follow-up question on the updates and a valid concern around whether or not the updates are disruptive to customers as we push out new functionality. So just to clarify that, we deliver functionality in a turned-off mode, right? And the idea is not to disrupt our customers' businesses, but to provide them with the option to adopt that functionality on a timeline that suits their need. So they're able to, again, go into a preview environment, which is actually their own data. It's not demo data, but their own data. So represents their world and their business environment. And they're able to preview that information or preview that new functionality, and then if and when they so choose, be able to turn that on and deploy it into their production environment. So again, a very continuous innovation model, but coupled with non-disruption by intention for our customer base. So with that, I think we are out of time. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We hope it's been helpful for you, and I hope that everyone enjoys their day. Over to you, Samantha.
Thank you for joining us today. You may now disconnect and have a great day.